Hello and welcome. My name is Annemarie. I'm a genre fiction writer and editor, and today's writing day. It is 1:30 p.m. now. I just got done with lunch this morning, went to the gym, and then as you saw, I did a bit of writing, had a writing session this morning, and now I'm getting back to it. I'm currently working on a short story that I intend to submit to a literary magazine. Their deadline is on the 1st of March. So I've got about 4 days or so to finish up the story, 1,000 to 5,000 words long. And I was just really inspired by the prompt. I saw it through Instagram, I believe. And that's what we're tackling today. I usually start my writing sessions by writing in my notebook until I either start losing steam or the words just aren't coming. And then I'll take a break and switch to the computer, usually typing up everything that I had written down, and then that helps me get back into the flow. It also usually results in me editing whatever I've written. I tend to edit as I go when I'm typing on the computer, but I don't do that as much when I'm writing in my notebook. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna type up everything that I've already written and then continue working. This is a fantasy short story that I'm working on, very much inspired by the Japanese myth of Jorogumo, or the temptress spider woman yokai, which is really cool. The theme for the literary magazine that I'm submitting to is blossom, so about flowers and metamorphosis and spring and transformation. So I've got some related flower imagery in there in my story. And yeah, just really excited about it. I only recently saw the prompt and then had the idea for the story. So it's a nice break from my regular writing for the book that I've been working on. I highly recommend, if you're a new writer or you're a writer who's kind of in a rut, to take a look at different literary magazines to see if you can get inspired by, usually a lot of them have themes which you can take inspiration from. I often find it's a hit or miss. Sometimes I'm really thrilled about it and I'm like, oh yeah, I have an idea for that. And sometimes I'm like, nothing's coming to mind, in which case it's just not the right fit for me in the moment. But I also find it to be very motivating to have a project that I'm working on that I can very easily see the ending for. Writing a book is such a huge project, it's such a long process. There's a lot of time that goes into it, and sometimes it just feels like you're plodding along and not really going anywhere, even though you are. But short stories definitely change that feeling and give you something that you can work on. You can work on your craft, try something new. It's something that's fresh and interesting, and you can kind of play with outside of your normal writing style that you might be using for your book. For example, I tend to write in third person, but for this short story that I'm writing, I am going to write it in first person, or I am writing it in first person. So I find that is really helpful for me to keep working on my craft and also not lose steam when the book writing process feels just like a slog. So yeah, I've also, for this month, so last week I actually finished a short story that I had been working on since the end of January, a post-apocalyptic short story set in Florida, which is where I'm from, which was fun to write, and it got sent to my writing critique group, so I'm excited to get their feedback on it and then start submitting that out to speculative fiction literary magazines. I've been using Reedsy's studio platform for writers. They have these writing challenges where you can enter into winning like master classes from editors with Reedsy and stuff like that, which is really fun. And that's kind of what I've been doing for this month. You have to write like 14,000 words in the month. I'm around 10,000, which is cool. So I'm on set to finish the challenge. But that's been very motivating for me, who hadn't had a consistent writing schedule before the beginning of the year. And even though I would say that my writing, I don't have a schedule per se, like I don't sit down at a particular time of day to write every single day, it does keep the priority of writing in the forefront of my mind. And when I can see the actual word count, progress, they have a little tracker on the side. I'll probably throw up a picture, but they have a little tracker on the side that shows how close you are getting your goal. It tracks how many words you've written for the day. It has this fun thing where it tracks the number of words you've written and then the number of words you've deleted, which is interesting. Sometimes I have those days where I'm just deleting all kinds of sentences, and then it's almost as if I've written as much as I've deleted, which is really interesting. I didn't know that about myself. So yeah, that's a really fun tool that I've been using recently if you're a fellow writer and you want something fun and different to help motivate you, give you that extra oomph to finish your projects. Cool. So I'm going to do some writing, see how far I get, and then check back in with you in a little bit.
If you're wondering how to find literary magazines to submit to, I recommend checking out resources like Chill Subs and Poets and Writers. Many lit mags use social media to announce when they're open for submissions, and by giving them a follow, you'll not only get the announcements early, but I found that the algorithm picks up on the fact that you're interested in lit mags and will begin suggesting some in your feed that will show you new and different opportunities to get your writing out into the world. If you're a fellow speculative fiction reader, writer, artist, or scholar, I want to recommend checking out the digital literary magazine I help run called Scattered Flock Journal, created, edited, and designed by fellow fantasy literature academics, where we publish short stories, essays, academic articles, and artwork related to sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our newsletter on our website for updates about release dates, submission openings, and more. Our second issue will be releasing in April, and we have some amazing pieces to share. It's free to read and free to submit, so consider supporting us and our amazing creative contributors by becoming a part of our readership. If you're looking for some tips and tricks for preparing to submit to a literary magazine, check out my blog on the topic, where I share some insights from my experience working in this space. You can find the link in the description below.
Hello. It is much later now. I ended up doing quite a bit of writing and, as you can see, taking a break. But my word count for the day ended up being 1,200, or 1,197 to be specific. I ended up writing mostly on the computer and using the dictation function on Microsoft Word to take breaks from just writing from my brain and typing it out. It helps me a little bit when I have a lot of things in my head that I just want to spit out, and then I can go back and edit it later. Total word count for this short story is just over 2,000 words. I am right at the climax, and I can't imagine that this is going to go much over 3,000. It's probably going to be under 3,000, I think, because I'm right at the end. And I'll be adding a little bit more details and moving things around. Writing in first person has been interesting from a chronological perspective because I'm, in the head of my main character, and oftentimes she's jumping back in time to explain things that are relevant to the present. And I found myself jumping back a lot, but they're not always in the right place. So tomorrow I'll probably be editing that up. But yeah, I think I can wrap this up tomorrow and then have a day or two to have some of my writing friends look at it and give me feedback before I have to submit it. So that's exciting. Hello. So it is Saturday, February 28th now. Last you saw me was on Wednesday when I was finishing up the first draft of the short story. On Thursday, I ended up completing it. It ended up being a little over 3,000 words, which is right around where I thought it was going to be. Edited it, fixed up the order of the narrative, and then sent it off to my two friends who are fellow writers and also fellow graduates of the fantasy literature masters that I did. So I got that back yesterday and today. So that's what I spent working on, like revising and editing and implementing their feedback. And then I submitted it just a few hours ago, which is exciting. So I'll keep you updated on whether or not it gets accepted. And if it doesn't, then I work on it some more and I submit it elsewhere. So that's also kind of the fun, is that I have a completed story that I can, continue trying to share. Overall, this was a really fun project and a nice break from the book writing, which I will be back on next week. So, yeah, let me know what classic mythology or folklore stories are your favorite. And if you like this content, please consider giving this video a like and subscribe for more writing stuff. So until next time, bye!